Jeff Kinney, author of the popular Diary of a Wimpy Kid children's book series, made an appearance at St. John's the Evangelist School last Thursday. During an hour-long presentation, he shared how he got his career started and encouraged students to pursue their dreams. We spoke with Mr. Kinney after the presentation.
So I said, what can I do with this? You know, I feel like I was born to be a cartoonist, but I don't have the talent to become a cartoonist. You know, I kind of draw like a kid. I draw like a middle schooler. And then I realized, well, what if I embrace that? And I say, you know what, I draw like a middle schooler, so just go with it. So I came up with the idea for Greg Heffley, a kid who draws comics in a journal, and that's where the idea for Diary of a Wimpy Kid was born. In 1998, I think it was. I spoke at a Catholic Charities event a few months ago, and somebody who was there thought I'd be a good speaker for St. John's. And actually, this school is a school of my neighbors up the street. I was always very curious about it, so I'm really glad I got to see it and visit, and the kids were great. I only get out to a few schools a year because I have a few jobs. I have about 5 different jobs, including a full-time job working at a website called Poptropica. So it's really rare for me to actually be able to make a school visit, so this one was really special. Why does Greg make his brother and himself miserable in the movies, but also in the books? If you look at the cover of every single Diary of a Wimpy Kid book, Greg's got a frown on his face. And I think you hit it right on the head, is that he makes himself miserable. You know, except for maybe in the long haul where his family is making him miserable, usually Greg's unhappy because Greg's made himself unhappy. Yeah? It's actually great to talk to kids because I spend so much of the year holed up in my home in Plainville, Mass., which isn't too far from here, and I'm just filled with doubt. You know, when I'm writing my book, I'm not sure if it's funny enough or good enough. And then eventually I put it to bed and a real book comes in the mail, and then it goes out into the world. And it always surprises me that I can go to most parts of the country and the kids have already read the book. You know, it's like that's when the connection is made. That's when the reward comes, is when I get to meet the kids. Yeah, I never thought that the books would get published. So now there's 150 million in print, and it's the craziest thing in the world to me that I can come into a school and have everybody know the characters and be familiar with them. And it's something I never take for granted. It's something that really blows me away every day. I want to encourage any kids out there, anybody who has a talent or a dream, to really nurture that idea, right? I think sometimes when we come up with an idea, we just show it to somebody and then we're done with it, right? But it's really important to keep working on something. There's this book called Outliers, which is a book for grown-ups, but it's called The Story of Success. And the author, Malcolm Gladwell, says that to become an expert at anything, you need about 10,000 hours or about 10 years, right? So if you want to become a dancer or maybe a teacher or a writer, you know, you need about 10,000 hours. So it's a good time to get started now on pursuing your dream, because maybe one day you'll become an expert at whatever you want to do. And I wanted to remind you that I'm not the best illustrator, I'm certainly not the best writer around, but I was very, very persistent. So if you have a dream, I'd really encourage you to be persistent, because if you're lucky, like me, maybe one day you'll get to see your idea fly. I think it's really interesting in today's day and age that anybody can find an audience, you know, via Twitter or Facebook, no matter how small. But it's nice because everybody has an avenue to get their stuff seen by somebody, right? But what it does in the negative way is that I think that it doesn't teach craftsmanship, because you feel like you should just put something together and put it out there and get an immediate reaction. But the best stuff really takes a long time to develop, and I think I was really trying to encourage these kids to work on their dream, to become an expert at something, because that's when it really pays off. What I've heard is that somebody in today's generation will have 5 different careers by the time they retire. And I think I've had 4 or 5 already, and I'm 43 years old. So I really took an unconventional route to become a cartoonist. I started off as a computer science major. I became a computer science dropout, then a criminal justice major, and then a newspaper designer, a medical software engineer, and eventually a children's author. So I think that these kids will find that their paths will take them all over the place, and they should take something from everything. They can take everything that they've learned and put it into one place. They'll use everything they learn.